The galactic stage, humanity's unexpected entrance. In the vast expanse of the Milky Way, where countless civilizations had risen and fallen over millennia, the galactic Concordat stood as a beacon of unity and cooperation. For centuries, the most advanced species of the galaxy had gathered under its banner, sharing knowledge, resolving conflicts, and facing cosmic threats together. Yet, as the 73rd cycle of the Grand Assembly commenced, an air of unease permeated the usually serene halls of the Concordat's capital on Nexus Prime. Delegate Jorax of the Andromeda, his tentacles swaying with agitation, addressed the assembly. Esteemed colleagues, the reports from our outer territories are dire. The Zarkonian fleets continue their relentless advance. 12 more systems have fallen in the past lunar cycle alone. A chorus of worried murmurs rippled through the chamber. The Zarkonians, a warrior race from the galactic fringe, had emerged seemingly from nowhere, their technology and military might overwhelming even the most stalwart Concordat defenses. Ambassador Elia of the Luminians, her bioluminescent skin pulsing with concern, spoke next. "We've lost contact with the Vesperian colonies. Our last transmissions indicated widespread devastation. The Zarkonians are not merely conquering, they're obliterating entire civilizations." As the delegates debated strategy and shared increasingly grim reports, a commotion at the chamber's entrance drew all eyes. A figure, unfamiliar to most, strode confidently into the heart of the assembly. Bipedal with a frame that suggested both strength and agility, the newcomer's appearance caused a ripple of confusion. "Apologies for the interruption," the stranger announced, his voice carrying a hint of amusement that seemed at odds with the somber atmosphere. "I believe I'm a bit late to the party." Grand Arbiter Calzin, the venerable leader of the Concordat, leaned forward on his hovering days. "Identify yourself, intruder. This assembly is closed to all but recognized delegates." The newcomer bowed slightly, a gesture both respectful and somehow irreverent. "Captain Jack Harper, representing Earth and the United Systems of Humanity. We received your distress beacon. Old tech, by the way, might want to update that, and thought we'd pop by to lend a hand." Shocked silence fell over the chamber. Earth was known to the Concordat, of course, but as a primitive world on the fringes of explored space. The few times Concordat observers had visited the planet, they had found a species still grappling with internal conflicts and only beginning to explore their own solar system. Delegate Jorax's tentacles writhed in confusion. "Impossible. Earth is a protected world, barely into its space age. You cannot be." "Oh, but we are," Harper interrupted, his grin widening. "Turns out, when you're not looking, humans have a habit of making some pretty impressive leaps. We've been watching, learning, and preparing. And now, well, we think it's time we introduced ourselves properly." Grand Arbiter Calzin's eyes narrowed. "If what you say is true, human, then you are in violation of numerous Concordat protocols. Non-interference directives, technology sharing restrictions." Harper held up a hand, his expression turning serious. "With all due respect, Arbiter, I think we're a bit past worrying about paperwork. You've got a galaxy-wide invasion on your hands, and from what we've seen, you're losing. Badly." The bluntness of his words sent another wave of murmurs through the assembly. Ambassador Elia floated closer, her curiosity overcoming her initial shock. "You speak as if you have knowledge of the Zarkonian threat. How is this possible?" Harper's eyes gleamed with a mix of pride and mischief. "Let's just say we humans have a knack for unconventional information gathering. We've had eyes and ears in Zarkonian space for months now, and we've come to offer our help." Skepticism and hope warred on the faces of the delegates. Grand Arbiter Calzin, his ancient features etched with the weight of the crisis, leaned forward. "And what exactly can Earth offer that the combined might of the Concordat cannot?" Harper's smile returned, but this time it held an edge of steel. "Innovation, Arbiter. Adaptability. and a perspective unbound by millennia of galactic politics and outdated tactics. We're new to this stage, true, but that's our strength. We see possibilities where you see only obstacles. He strode to the center of the chamber, activating a holographic display with a flick of his wrist. The assembled delegates gasped as detailed schematics of Zarkonian ships and weapon systems appeared, along with strategic analysis that even the Concordat's best minds hadn't conceived. "This is but a fraction of what we've uncovered," Harper explained. "We have operatives deep within Zarkonian territory, gathering intelligence, sabotaging key facilities, and preparing the groundwork for a counteroffensive." Ambassador Elia's bioluminescence flared with a mixture of hope and disbelief. How? How could a species we considered primitive achieve all this without detection? Harper's expression turned grim. "Necessity, Ambassador. We discovered the Zarkonian threat years ago, long before they revealed themselves to you. We knew we weren't ready for a galactic war, so we adapted. We hid our advancements, played the part of the primitive species, all while preparing for this moment." The chamber erupted in a cacophony of voices, some accusing the humans of deceit, others clamoring for more information. Grand Arbiter Kelzin raised his hands, calling for silence. "Captain Harper," he intoned, his voice carrying the weight of centuries, "your arrival and your claims are unprecedented in Concordat history. If what you say is true, it could change the course of this war. But trust is not given lightly, especially in times of crisis." Harper nodded, understanding the implicit challenge. "Of course, which is why I'm prepared to offer proof, not just of our capabilities, but of our commitment to this fight." With another gesture, the holographic display shifted, showing a massive space station hidden within an asteroid field on the edge of Zarkonian space. "This is the Zarkonians' primary cloning facility. It's where they produce the bulk of their shock troops. In exactly 6 hours, it will be reduced to atoms." Gasps and exclamations filled the chamber. Delegate Jorax's tentacles twisted in agitation. "Impossible. That facility is deep within enemy territory, protected by their strongest fleets." Harper's grin returned, fierce and determined. "Watch and learn, my friends. This is just the opening act. Humanity is joining this war, and trust me when I say, the Zarkonians won't know what hit them." As the Concordat delegates argued and debated, Captain Jack Harper stood calm at the center of the storm. In just a few hours, the galaxy would witness the true capabilities of humanity unleashed. The war that had seemed unwinnable was about to take a dramatic turn. The fate of civilizations hung in the balance, and humanity was ready to prove that sometimes the most unexpected allies could become the greatest heroes. The Zarkonian menace, a force thought unstoppable. As the tense atmosphere in the Concordat chamber reached its zenith, a blinding flash illuminated the holographic display. The Zarkonian cloning facility, a fortress believed impregnable, erupted into a dazzling inferno. Debris scattered across space, leaving nothing but a rapidly expanding cloud of superheated gas and shattered metal. Stunned silence gripped the assembly. Captain Jack Harper stood, arms crossed, a satisfied smirk playing at the corners of his mouth. "Ladies, gentlemen, and assorted beings of the Concordat, I believe that's what we humans call making an entrance." Grand Arbiter Calzin's normally impassive face showed a flicker of astonishment. How is this possible?" Harper's expression turned serious. "Now that I have your attention, let me paint you a clearer picture of what we're up against and why the Concordat's traditional methods have failed." The holographic display shifted, showing a menacing array of Zarkonian warships. Their design was unlike anything the Concordat had encountered, organic, almost predatory in appearance. "The Zarkonians," Harper began, his voice grim, "are not just conquerors. They're a species engineered for war, the result of millennia of genetic manipulation and technological enhancement. Every Zarkonian you've faced in battle is a cloned soldier, bred for a single purpose: galactic domination." Ambassador Elia floated closer, her bioluminescence pulsing with a mix of fear and fascination. But surely, a species so focused on war would have revealed themselves earlier. Why now? Harper nodded, appreciating the insightful question. Excellent point, Ambassador. The Zarkonians have been playing the long game. For centuries, they'd been sending out scout ships, probes, and infiltrators. They've studied every species in the Concordat, learning your strengths, your weaknesses, and most importantly, your predictability. The display changed again, showing various Concordat military engagements. Your tactics, while advanced, have become standardized. The Zarkonians knew exactly how you'd respond to their invasion because you've been using the same playbook for generations. Delegate Jorax's tentacles writhed in agitation. Are you suggesting our eons of military experience are worthless? Not worthless, Harper corrected. Just outdated. The Zarkonians evolved specifically to counter your strategies. They're the perfect predator for the galactic ecosystem you've created. Grand Arbiter Calzin leaned forward, his ancient eyes narrowing. And humanity? How do you fit into this equation? Harper's grin returned, fierce and determined. We're the wild card, Arbiter. The Zarkonians didn't account for us because, quite frankly, they didn't think we mattered. While they were busy studying your grand fleets and energy weapons, humanity was developing in isolation, creating technologies and strategies they've never encountered. The holographic display flickered once more, this time showing schematics of sleek, unconventional spacecraft and weaponry that looked almost primitive compared to Concordat technology, yet undeniably deadly. Our ships, Harper explained, are designed for stealth and adaptability. We don't rely on energy shields. We have metamaterials that absorb or deflect enemy fire. Our weapons aren't just about raw power. They're about exploiting weaknesses the enemy doesn't even know they have. As the delegates murmured in a mixture of awe and skepticism, Harper continued, but our real strength, it's not our tech, it's our mindset. Humans are survivors, adapters. We've spent our entire history overcoming challenges, often against overwhelming odds. We don't play by the rules. We rewrite them. Ambassador Elia's bioluminescence flickered with a spark of hope. You truly believe you can turn the tide of this war? Harper's expression softened slightly. Ambassador, I know we can. But we can't do it alone. We need the Concordat's resources, your knowledge of the galaxy. Together, we can hit the Zarkonians where it hurts most. Grand Arbiter Calzin raised a hand, silencing the growing chatter among the delegates. Captain Harper, your actions and words are compelling. But the Concordat does not rush to war. We must discuss, debate. Harper's fist slammed down on the nearest console, his voice rising with passionate intensity. With all due respect, Arbiter, there's no time for debate. Every moment we waste in discussion, another world falls to the Zarkonians. You've seen what we can do. Now let us do more. The chamber erupted into chaos, delegates arguing fiercely. Some called for immediately accepting the humans' aid, while others urged caution, fearing this could be an elaborate deception. Amidst the commotion, a new alarm blared. The holographic display automatically switched to a live feed from the Luminian homeworld. The assembled delegates watched in horror as a massive Zarkonian fleet emerged from hyperspace, their organic warships blotting out the stars. Ambassador Elia's light dimmed in terror. No. Our defenses, our fleets, they're not ready for an assault of this magnitude. Harper's voice cut through the panic, steel-edged and commanding. This is it, Concordat. Decision time. You can stick to your protocols and watch another world fall, or you can take a leap of faith. Let humanity join this fight. Right here, right now. Grand Arbiter Calzin's ancient eyes met Harper's, seeing the fire of determination burning within. For a moment, the weight of countless civilizations hung in the balance. Then, with a slow nod, the Arbiter spoke. Very well, Captain. Show us what humanity can do. A fierce grin spread across Harper's face as he activated his communicator. Harper to all Earth forces. Operation Thunderbolt is a go. I repeat, Thunderbolt is a go. Let's show the galaxy what humans are made of. As the Concordat delegates watched in a mixture of hope and trepidation, hundreds of wormholes burst into existence around the Luminian homeworld. From each tear in space emerged sleek, dark vessels, the hidden fleet of humanity. They moved with a grace that belied their deadly purpose, forming up in attack patterns unlike anything the Concordat had ever seen. The battle for the Luminian homeworld was about to begin, and with it, a new chapter in galactic history. Humanity had entered the war, and the Zarkonians were about to learn that their carefully laid plans had overlooked one crucial factor: the indomitable spirit of the human race. As energy weapons flared and explosions blossomed in the void, the fate of not just one world, but an entire galaxy hung in the balance. The war that would decide the future of all species had truly begun. Operation Trojan Horse, humanity's cunning strategy. The space above Lumina Prime erupted into a dazzling display of destruction as the human fleet engaged the Zarkonian armada. The Concordat delegates watched in awe as the battle unfolded on the holographic display, a stark contrast to the methodical engagements they were accustomed to. Captain Jack Harper's voice rang out, calm and collected amidst the chaos. All units, initiate Phase 1 of Operation Trojan Horse. Epsilon and Delta squadrons, commence EMP barrage. Omega team, prepare for infiltration. The human ships moved with a fluidity that seemed to defy the laws of physics, weaving between the lumbering Zarkonian vessels. Suddenly, brilliant pulses of energy erupted from the smaller Earth craft, enveloping the nearest enemy ships in crackling fields of electromagnetic disruption. Ambassador Elia gasped, her bioluminescence flickering in surprise. "Their systems, they're shutting down." Harper nodded, a grim smile on his face. "Targeted EMP bursts, designed to overload Zarkonian neural interfaces. It won't stop them permanently, but it'll give us the opening we need." As the Zarkonian ships drifted, temporarily paralyzed, a group of sleek, dart-like vessels detached from the main human fleet. They streaked towards the disabled enemy craft, latching onto their hulls with magnetic grapples. Delegate Jorax's tentacles writhed in confusion. What are they doing? Those ships are too small to cause any significant damage. "Size isn't everything, Delegate," Harper replied, his eyes never leaving the tactical display. "Those are our infiltration teams. While the Zarkonians are busy rebooting their systems, we're going to hit them where it really hurts, from the inside." The holographic display zoomed in on one of the attached human vessels. Armored figures emerged, using cutting tools to slice through the organic hull of the Zarkonian ship. They moved with practiced efficiency, as if they had trained for this moment their entire lives. Grand Arbiter Calzin leaned forward, his ancient eyes narrowing. "You're boarding their vessels. But the Zarkonians are linked into a hive mind." "Yes," Harper finished for him, "which is exactly what we're counting on. Omega team, you're clear to deploy the Babel protocol." Inside the Zarkonian ship, the human infiltrators reached what appeared to be a central nervous system, a pulsing, organic computer core. They attached small devices to key points, each one lighting up with an eerie blue glow. "What you're seeing," Harper explained to the stunned Concordat delegates, "is the culmination of years of research into Zarkonian psychology and biology. The Babel protocol is a virus, but not a conventional one. It's designed to infiltrate their hive mind and sow confusion, doubt, and chaos." On the display, the Zarkonian ships began to move erratically. Some fired on their own allies, while others drifted aimlessly in space. The once coordinated assault on Lumina Prime devolved into a chaotic mess. Ambassador Elia's light pulsed with a mixture of awe and horror. This is unprecedented. You've turned their greatest strength into a weakness." Harper's expression was solemn. "War is ugly, Ambassador. We didn't want to resort to this, but the Zarkonians left us no choice. Sometimes, to save the many, you have to be willing to do the unthinkable." As the battle raged on, the tide began to turn. The human fleet, working in concert with the recovering Luminian defenses, systematically dismantled the Zarkonian attack force. Ships that weren't destroyed outright were left drifting, their crews trapped in a nightmarish loop of conflicting commands and paranoid delusions. Delegate Jorax, who had been skeptical of the humans from the start, now watched the tactical display with a mix of respect and fear. I must admit, Captain Harper, your species is formidable. But the ethical implications of this weapon. Harper turned to face the assembled delegates, his eyes hard. I understand your concerns. Believe me, we grappled with the ethics of the Babel Protocol for a long time. But ask yourselves this: how many worlds have the Zarkonians destroyed? How many species have they driven to extinction? Sometimes, to fight monsters, we must be willing to embrace our own darkness. Grand Arbiter Kalzin nodded slowly, his ancient face etched with the weight of countless difficult decisions. You speak wisdom beyond your years, Captain. The Concordat has long prided itself on taking the moral high ground, but perhaps that pride has cost us dearly in this war. As the last of the Zarkonian ships were neutralized or driven off, a cheer went up from the Luminian forces. The human fleet regrouped, their sleek ships bearing the scars of battle but still operational. Harper turned back to the tactical display, his voice tinged with determination. This was just the beginning. We've proven that the Zarkonians can be beaten, but we can't stop here. We need to take the fight to them, strike at the heart of their empire before they can regroup and adapt to our tactics. Ambassador Elia floated closer, her bioluminescence pulsing with renewed hope. What do you propose, Captain? A fierce grin spread across Harper's face. Operation Trojan Horse was just the opening act. Now, we unleash Operation Prometheus. We're going to steal the Zarkonians' fire and use it to burn their empire to the ground. As Harper began to outline the next phase of humanity's audacious plan, the Concordat delegates listened with rapt attention. The galaxy was changing before their eyes, old alliances and assumptions crumbling in the face of human ingenuity and determination. For better or worse, humanity had altered the course of the war. The Zarkonians, once thought invincible, had tasted defeat. But this was just the beginning of a conflict that would reshape the very fabric of galactic society. As plans were made and strategies debated, one thing became clear to all present. The age of complacency was over. A new era had dawned, one where humanity would play a central role in determining the fate of countless civilizations. The war for the galaxy had entered a new phase, and at its heart stood the unlikely heroes from a small blue planet on the galactic fringe. Earth had joined the fight, and the universe would never be the same. The tables turn. Exploiting the enemy's weaknesses. The aftermath of Operation Trojan Horse left the Concordat in a state of stunned disbelief. The Zarkonian threat, which had seemed insurmountable mere hours ago, now appeared vulnerable. As the dust settled, Captain Jack Harper stood before the assembled delegates, ready to unveil the next phase of humanity's audacious plan. Ladies, gentlemen, and esteemed beings of the Concordat, Harper began, his voice carrying a mix of determination and grim satisfaction. Operation Trojan Horse was a success beyond our wildest expectations, but we can't afford to rest on our laurels. The Zarkonians will adapt, and we need to strike while they're reeling. Grand Arbiter Kalzin leaned forward, his ancient eyes narrowing. What do you propose, Captain? Surely the Zarkonians will be expecting another attack. Harper's lips curled into a wry smile. Exactly, Arbiter, which is why we're going to give them exactly what they're expecting, and use it against them. With a gesture, Harper brought up a new holographic display. It showed a massive space station, organic in design, pulsing with an eerie inner light. This, Harper explained, is the Zarkonian central hive mind nexus. It's the heart of their empire, the source of their coordination and strength. And it's going to be our next target. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the assembly. Ambassador Elia's bioluminescence flickered rapidly. But Captain, surely such a vital installation would be impenetrable. The defenses alone would be. overwhelming. Harper finished for her. You're absolutely right, Ambassador. Which is why we're not going to attack it. We're going to let them invite us in. Confusion spread across the faces of the delegates. Delegate Jorax's tentacles writhed in agitation. Invite us in. Have you lost your mind, human? Harper's grin widened. Not at all, Delegate. We're going to use the Zarkonians' own arrogance against them. Operation Prometheus is a two-pronged assault. While their attention is focused on what they believe to be our main attack, a small team will infiltrate the Nexus itself. The holographic display shifted, showing a detailed plan of attack. Massive fleet movements, diversionary tactics, and a small, stealthy ship making its way towards the heart of Zarkonian space. The key, Harper continued, lies in the data we gathered during Operation Trojan Horse. Our infiltration teams didn't just deploy the Babel protocol. They also copied vast amounts of Zarkonian data. We now have the codes and protocols to pass as one of their own ships. Realization dawned on the faces of the Concordat delegates. It was a plan of breathtaking audacity and terrifying risk. Grand Arbiter Kelzin spoke, his voice heavy with the weight of centuries. And once this team is inside the Nexus, what then, Captain? Harper's expression turned grim. Then we unleash our most powerful weapon yet, a revised version of the Babel protocol, designed not just to confuse, but to completely rewrite the Zarkonian hive mind. The chamber erupted into chaos. Delegates argued fiercely, some calling the plan brilliant, others denouncing it as madness or worse, a violation of the very principles the Concordat stood for: victory and aftermath. A new galactic order. The galaxy held its breath as Operation Prometheus unfolded. On the fringes of Zarkonian space, the combined fleets of Earth and the Concordat engaged in a battle of unprecedented scale. Ships from 100 worlds clashed with the organic behemoths of the Zarkonian armada, space itself seeming to warp and twist under the strain of their conflict. But the true battle, the one that would decide the fate of countless civilizations, was taking place deep within the heart of enemy territory. Lieutenant Sophia Reyes and her infiltration team moved silently through the pulsing organic corridors of the Zarkonian central hive mind nexus. Their mimetic suits, a marvel of human ingenuity, allowed them to blend seamlessly with the living architecture around them. "We're approaching the central chamber," Reyes whispered into her comm. "No sign of resistance yet." "It's almost too easy," Captain Harper's voice crackled in her ear. "Stay alert, Lieutenant. The Zarkonians are crafty. They might be letting you get this far on purpose." As if on cue, alarms began to blare throughout the station. The organic walls pulsed with angry red light, and the distant sound of chittering Zarkonian soldiers echoed through the corridors. "Spoke too soon," Reyes muttered. "Team, double time it to the central chamber. We need to deploy the package before they can stop us." The infiltration team broke into a run, their mimetic suits struggling to keep up with the rapid movement. They burst into the central chamber, a vast, cathedral-like space dominated by a pulsing crystal structure that could only be the physical manifestation of the Zarkonian hive mind. "By all that's holy," one of Reyes' team whispered in awe. But there was no time for wonder. Zarkonian guards were pouring into the chamber from every entrance. Reyes made a split-second decision. "Vega, Chen, hold them off. Everyone else, with me. We're deploying the package." As part of her team engaged the Zarkonian guards in a desperate firefight, Reyes and the others rushed towards the crystal structure. They pulled out small, innocuous-looking devices, the culmination of human scientific achievement and the hopes of a galaxy. "Deploying now," Reyes reported, attaching the devices to key points on the crystal. "Package is live." "Repeat, package is." Her words were cut off as a blast of energy from a Zarkonian weapon caught her in the side. Reyes stumbled, nearly falling, but managed to activate the final device. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the crystal began to pulse with an otherworldly light. Energy arced between the devices, forming a web that quickly enveloped the entire structure. The effect on the Zarkonians was immediate and terrifying. The guards stopped in their tracks, their movements becoming erratic. Some turned on each other, while others simply collapsed, chittering in what sounded disturbingly like despair. "It's working," Reyes gasped, clutching her wounded side. "The revised Babel protocol is rewriting their hive mind." Across the galaxy, the effect rippled outward. Zarkonian ships suddenly lost coordination, their once perfect formations dissolving into chaos. On 1,000 worlds, Zarkonian occupiers found themselves cut off from the guiding will of their species, lost and confused. In the Concordat war room, Captain Harper watched the tactical displays with a mixture of awe and trepidation. "My God," he breathed. "We did it. We actually did it." Grand Arbiter Kelzin nodded solemnly. "Indeed, Captain. But at what cost? We have fundamentally altered an entire species. The ethical implications will be debated for generations," Harper finished for him. "But right now, we need to focus on ending this war and securing the peace." In the days that followed, the Allied fleets moved swiftly to secure Zarkonian territory. With their hive mind in chaos, most Zarkonian forces surrendered without a fight. Those that resisted were quickly overwhelmed. As the dust settled, the full impact of Operation Prometheus became clear. The Zarkonians, once a unified and terrifying force, were now a fractured and confused species. Many had been driven insane by the sudden severing of their psychic bonds. Others found themselves experiencing individual thought for the first time in their species' history. The victory celebration in the Concordat capital was tempered by the weight of what had been done. As representatives from 100 worlds gathered to discuss the future, the mood was one of cautious optimism tinged with moral uncertainty. Captain Harper, hailed as the architect of humanity's triumph, stood before the assembled delegates. "We stand at a crossroads," he began, his voice carrying across the hushed chamber. "We have won the war, but now we face an even greater challenge: winning the peace." He gestured to a group of Zarkonians who had been brought to the gathering. Former enemies, now lost and seeking guidance. "We have a responsibility to help the Zarkonians rebuild, to find a new way of existing without their hive mind. And in doing so, perhaps we can forge a new understanding between our species." The debate that followed was long and heated. Some called for the complete dismantling of Zarkonian civilization, arguing that they could not be trusted. Others advocated for a more compassionate approach, seeing an opportunity for redemption and growth. In the end, a compromise was reached. The Zarkonians would be given the chance to rebuild, under the watchful eye of a joint Earth Concordat peacekeeping force. Their technology would be studied, their worlds slowly reintegrated into the galactic community. As the new accords were signed, Grand Arbiter Kelzin turned to Captain Harper. "You have changed the course of galactic history, Captain. Humanity has proven itself a force to be reckoned with." Harper nodded, his expression thoughtful. "We have. But with great power comes great responsibility. The real test of humanity's worth won't be how we won the war, but how we handle the peace that follows." As the delegates dispersed, plans being made for the new galactic order, Harper found himself looking out at the stars. The galaxy had been forever changed by humanity's actions. For better or worse, Earth was now a major player on the cosmic stage. The war was over, but the true challenge was just beginning. In the vast expanse of space, new alliances would be forged, new threats would emerge, and humanity would continue to push the boundaries of what was possible. The age of Earth's isolation was over. A new chapter in galactic history had begun, with humanity at its center. The universe, vast and full of wonders, awaited. And as Captain Jack Harper gazed out at the infinite possibilities before them, he couldn't help but smile. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he knew one thing for certain: humanity was ready to face them head-on. The end, and a new beginning.